Welcome to the third and the last part of rheumatic heart fever. Now we are going to discuss about the diagnostic and other relevant management related to acute rheumatic fever, in which first we will understand how will we collect the evidence of a recent streptococcal infection or antecedent means was somewhere present in the past. So the first way is increased or rising anti-streptolysin titer, ASO titer. So you can order and test for ASO titer. Values about 333 Todd units are significant in children. Its sensitivity, whenever you find such findings that it is above this particular value, then 80% of the cases would be positive. Rising titer is strong evidence of recent streptococcal infection. Also, significant level of ASO titer in children and adults can be classified as in children between the age of 5 to 15, it would be more than 333, whereas in adults it would be more than 250. The unit uses the Todd unit per milliliter. The blood titer of anti-streptolysin O raised against extracellular antigen of streptococci appears in 10 to 15 days and reach a peak in 3 to 4 weeks after the acute infection, and usually are maintained for 2 to 3 months before declining. 20% of cases may remain positive till 6 months, so it's quite enormous time. So if are not sure about the acute rheumatic fever, we can order for this ASO titer to have the confirmation that there was some past infection of streptococci or not. In absence of any major Jones criteria, isolated antibody titer rise of any level just suggests a past or a present streptococcal infection and not the acute rheumatic activity. Hence, unlike ESR and CRP, it is not a minor criteria. There is no need to treat high ASO titer with secondary prophylaxis. To show the rising titer in selected patients, one can repeat it after 1 week. Also, the other evidence for a recent or present streptococcal infection is anti-deoxyribonuclease B, DNase B titer. The peak usually is after 6 to 8 weeks of infection, and normal level of anti-DNase B titer are these. Preschool children, it is 1 is to 60 units. School children, 1 is to 480 units. And in adults, is 1 is to 340 units. Also, a positive throat culture, which is having a sensitivity of 25 to 40%. Recent scarlet fever, streptococcal sore throat within previous 45 days, and rapid streptococcal antigen detection test might be done. Other manifestations of rheumatic disease are fatigue, epistaxis, abdominal pain, anemia, skin rashes, respiratory problems such as pneumonia, pleuritis, pleurisy, and pleural effusion might be seen. So these are other manifestations. Now, what about the clinical course or how this disease will progress? It is only the carditis which can cause permanent damage to the cardiac tissue. Sign of mild carditis disappears rapidly within weeks, but those of severe carditis may last for 2 to 6 months. Arthritis usually subsides within a few days to several weeks, even without treatment, and does not cause permanent damage. So here is a point that should be noted, that if the arthritis is of origin of acute rheumatic fever, it might disappear even without treatment. So keep in mind, if you are treating this and if you're giving some medication for it, so it might not be useful because eventually this is going to disappear even without medication. Chorea gradually subsides in 6 to 7 months or longer and usually does not cause any permanent neurological damage. Now, these are the names of the differential diagnosis for acute rheumatic fever. There are some names you can go through, and the quite common ones are rheumatoid arthritis, myocarditis, viral origin, the Kawasaki disease, congenital heart diseases, SLE, Wilson's disease, Hutchinson chorea. So these are some differential diagnoses which do show symptoms similar to acute rheumatic fever, but altogether they are different diseases. Now let us differentiate between rheumatic arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis because they almost sound similar and their expression are different. Age at which rheumatic arthritis would usually come is children's greater than 3 years, usually 5 to 15 years, whereas in rheumatoid arthritis, it may occur in children less than 3 years also. Here, the onset is quite acute, whereas in rheumatoid arthritis, it is chronic. Duration of illness is short in rheumatic fever, whereas in rheumatoid it is quite long. Joints affected in rheumatic are larger, whereas in rheumatoid it's a smaller joint, as of the phalanges you can consider. Spine and other joints are not affected. It's usually affected in rheumatoid arthritis. Symmetry is asymmetrical in rheumatic. It is quite symmetrical in rheumatoid. Character of pain are migratory or maybe non-migratory, and diurnal variation are not seen. There is stiffness more in the morning in rheumatoid arthritis. Fever is present in high grade in rheumatic, whereas low grade is present in rheumatoid arthritis. Muscle spasm and wasting are absent in rheumatic, whereas present in rheumatoid. Carditis is very rare in rheumatoid. It is majority present in rheumatic. ASO titer is positive in rheumatic, negative in rheumatoid. RA factor is negative in rheumatic, whereas positive in rheumatoid. So RA factor is actually rheumatoid arthritis factor. Its course is acute. It's in rheumatic arthritis, and it can resolve without treatment. But in chronic course of rheumatoid arthritis, treatment is required. Residual effect of joint. So here we don't find any deformity happening, but it actually causes deformity in rheumatoid arthritis. There is a swan neck deformity. We will see later when we'll consider the joints and its disorder. How does the swan neck deformity looks like? Also, we will have response to salicylates, and there is a good response to salicylate and rheumatic, whereas slow or low in rheumatoid. In X-ray, the joint appears to be normal in rheumatic, whereas abnormality is seen in the rheumatoid. Now, what about the recurrence of rheumatic fever? The risk is highest in the first few years after an attack, and young children are more likely to develop recurrence. What about the feature of recurrence of rheumatic fever in patients with established rheumatic heart disease? Endocarditis. Endocarditis change in the pre-existing murmur, new murmurs, evanescent murmur. That is, if recurrence is occurring, we will find adding of symptoms like new murmurs might appear. Myocarditis will worsen, causing more enlargement in the size of the heart. Pericarditis with intensity of pain, pericardial friction rub increasing. Now we have some terminologies that we need to understand. Recurrence, how do in terms of rheumatic heart fever, it's a new episode following a new infection. Occurs at least 8 weeks after stopping the treatment. So recurrence, how do you define recurrence? It is at least 8 weeks between the treatment and the appearance of a new infection. Rebound, what is rebound? Manifestation of rheumatic fever within 3 to 6 weeks of stopping the treatment or tapering the drug. And relapse is worsening of symptom while on treatment. How do you diagnose rheumatic heart fever? Obviously, the total count of WBC would be increased, and the differential count polymorph nuclear leukocytosis can be seen. That is, the neutrophil count will obviously increase. If we are assessing the hemoglobin percentage, we find less hemoglobin. ESR is raised, and so is the C-reactive protein. Also, anti-streptococcal antibodies, including ASO titer and anti-DNA is B, and anti-hyaluronidase is elevated. Condition in which ASO titer is negative is rheumatic fever. But after that, we'll find that the ASO titer is quite high. And 20% of cases um, where rheumatic fever was present, we might find ASO titer to be negative. Also, 7 days before and 5 weeks after the onset. Because if today we had this infection, so 7 days before and 5 weeks after the onset, the titer count might fall down. In cases of rheumatic chorea only, early treated diseases, mild carditis, technical error might be some reasons for negative ASO titer. Also, positive throat culture and yes, can be the reason. And rapid streptococcal antigen detection is done. For diagnosis, chest X-ray is also useful for detection of pulmonary congestion and cardiomegaly. ECG with prolongation of PR interval gives you an idea about the conduction block. Also, T wave inversion and reduction in QRS voltage might be seen. Usually, echo, 2D echo is not required to establish diagnosis of ARF, but in absence of overt clinical sign, there is other clinical sign. It helps to recognize undetected carditis. So it helps in differentiating the acute carditis from infective endocarditis. Unlike ESR and C-reactive protein, it is not a major or a minor criteria, but always plays a significant role. Also, nodule focal present at the at body and tip, showing no independent chaotic movement, disappearing on follower, not seen in established rheumatic heart disease. Prolapse of the tip of the valve due to minor caudal rupture might be seen, and pericardial inflammation or effusion might be seen in echo. So, what are the findings of echo? Thickening of valve, restriction of leaf movement, valve prolapse, annular dilatation, rupture of caudate ending, thickening of subvalvular mitral apparatus, elongation of caudate, annular commissural calcification, ventricular dilatation, mitral stenosis, regurgitation, and aortic valve disease might be seen, and simultaneous involvement of tricuspid valve. That was all about acute rheumatic fever, its diagnosis, types, and clinical manifestation. Kindly consider this because this is one of the disease which have multi-organ involvement. Thank you for listening.